Ready to go? I don't know. I can't see back there. All I see is bright lights. So, yeah, exactly. Are we? Are we ready to go? I'm going to assume that we are. Hello and welcome to Productivity Parables. I'm James Cooper, Chief Technologist for Advanced Visualization at Raytheon. With me are Nick Castillo, our Engagement Lead and Reality Capture Expert, and Dr. Brent Dingle, Senior Engineer for Research and Development. Each of us are members of the Immersive Design Center at Raytheon. Under the wonderful leadership of Alice D. Walker joining us in the audience, we are a team specializing in advanced visualization. We are here today to share stories of our experiences working with immersive technologies over the last several decades. As we plan to relay the experiences as stories, we titled our talk Parables. Whether we succeed in conveying any experiences or even telling good stories will be up to the audience. Brent, if you will, please set the stage for our audience.
As James said, we're going to tell you some stories. I agree completely with the Jay when he said this is probably one of the most exciting times to be in AR, VR. We're going to take you a little bit back farther in time, so we're going to not just talk about headsets, but other technology that we've used throughout the course of our careers. So, for general context, the goal of our team is to actually improve business processes. We do this by designing, developing, building, testing, and integrating new technology. And from that, we actually provide services and resources to all of the RTX employees. So in sum, what we actually do is find things that work and then show other people how to use them and allow them to be able to use. So I get the first story, and we tried to context all of these as stories. And it starts out with, long ago I was a professor, a student came up and asked me a question, and about 4 days later I finished answering the question. So the lesson is don't ask open-ended questions, particularly to people with PhDs. You'll see this illustrated throughout the talk as James is going to be asking or assisting me and Nick in our storytelling endeavors. So with that, I'm going to let Nick give you the history of how our team came to be.
All right. Well, I am the longest standing member of our Immersive Design Centers. And so, I'm getting feedback. So we started off in the bike shop, which is our Skunk Works department, way back in 2007. And we started off with a stereoscopic monitor that had motion capture devices on it so that we could, translate the models for the engineers. That was the task that they gave us, to say, how do we display models in something we hadn't done before? And the bike shop is adept in doing that. That's what they are, is a rapid prototyping place and trying to solve different problems. So they tasked us with this, and we started off with this monitor. We walked around and did this everywhere, evangelizing, proselytizing as much as we could, and showed all kinds of success from it. So what happened was, after that, they said, well, because of all the success, we should go ahead and invest in a larger scale device. So we bought our first Mechdyne T-Flex cave that had 3 walls, a floor, and a ceiling that retracted, because us in the aerospace defense area, we have to be able to reach up and see what's inside of planes and wings and such. So that's what we did. So first task done and complete. And what happened with that task? Well, we got a 30% reduction in time. That was our immediate ROI. It was the first thing that we could deliver to them, and it was very, very successful for that. So, so that meant that we had to design a team to go around this immersive design center that was brand newly created, because the talents that were in the bike shop did not cover that. So we created a team, and that's what the story starts with, is that now we have this great team together, and it's grown. The capabilities have grown, the interest has grown. So the second immersive design center was set up in Andover, Massachusetts. There's a bunch of them sitting right here. The Tucson folks as well are sitting right here. And then our second one that was built, our third one, sorry, that was built was in McKinney, Texas here. That's where I am located now. And then our fourth one was in Canberra, Australia. And we also have advanced viz capabilities all throughout our company as well, such as in the UK and all over the CONUS United States. So what were we tasked to do? We were tasked to provide good things, I'll say, for our engineering, operations, IT departments. And what were those things that we were doing? We were having design reviews, technical reviews, such as like DFMAs, PFMAs, so on, that were really addressing those kind of things, our model reviews, and our ergonomic and facilities kind of reviews as well. So branching off of that to other use cases, we had our talent acquisition department and our business development department get involved, and they're using it for customer reviews, for sales pitches, for onboarding. We have all kinds of different things that we use that room for. But we also do STEM outreach for things like Girls Who Code or our community outreach with Toys for Tots.
Wow, Nick, that is quite a history. Brent, to build these IDCs requires an enormous amount of expertise in display technologies. So how do you select what display tech to use? Do you have any stories about that?
As it happens, I do. So my first exposure to the cave-based systems, and these are like, picture 3 walls where you have projections on them. I also found out that talking to people about caves, they actually thought I was going into a cave at one point in time. Not a real cave. It's a cave of monitors and displays. So back when I was in undergrad, I was at Bradley University, and our student chapter of the ACM took us on a field trip over to the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And we actually got to see like one of the first, or say first 5 that they ever built cave systems, and it was quite impressive. You had the 3 walls, you had I believe they had a projector on the floor at the time, but you had wires everywhere. It was just a mangle of wires, and there were like 4 or 6 or maybe 10 computers running the whole thing, and they had us put on these terribly uncomfortable glasses, which we still have, and But the effect was amazing. You could actually see these fish floating in the air, swimming by you, and it was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. But I was disturbed by it. Not just because the fish were floating in the air, swimming by me, but because of all the complexity that was actually in the technology. To be able to use the tech, you'd have to have an enormous amount of knowledge to actually be able to do so. And so the takeaway from that story is that when you're making things, you have to make them simple. And if you can, you want to make them intuitive. And on top of that, you want to make sure that whatever you're building is going to offer a benefit to the use case you have in mind. Now, they were in academia, so they don't have to, the whole experiment was there. So not criticizing them at all. We wouldn't have anything we have if they didn't do it. But back on topic, selecting the display, so that was the message. Selecting display, you have so many choices. It depends on so many different things, your audience size, your room size, and again, your use cases. So right now, as Nick was alluding to, we have a projector-based system where we support it with an LCD wall, and the newer ones actually have micro LED tile systems built in. But one of the things that we did across the last 5, maybe 10 years was to simplify the back end down to one simple computer, so there's only one computer controlling the whole thing, which makes it easier. And from the end user perspective, they think it is just a great big monitor that they get to put whatever they want on whenever they want. So it makes it super easy for the end user to use. Now, this works most of the time because it immerses the audience in the meetings, and they stay engaged in the meetings, and they're all happy about it. But there are other things to consider beyond just the displays. Though with regard to displays, as they just told you, there's hundreds of options for the headsets now. You have the AR, you have the VR, you have the MR, you have the XR, you have just the pass-through head-mounted displays. And we have the concept of the holographic tables or holographic-like tables. And you even have the laser displays. If you've gone to them for like decades, we've been able to display laser displays up in the air. And they've advanced that so that you can actually create lasers that actually pop up plasma so you get 3D effects in 3 space. So the displays are important, but they're only part of the entirety of the story. So you also have the user interfaces, you have the user experience, and you have all that background that I was talking about, all those wires that we had to simplify, all the computers that are running it, all the software that goes with it, all the hardware. And this emphasizes the point that you need a team of experts to actually keep track of all of this. As a company, you want somebody experienced with using the tech. And you have to actually be trying to maintain those user interfaces, those user experiences. To illustrate some of that, our team also investigates beyond just the displays. We look at the microphones, we look at the speakers, we look at computer systems entirety, the video compression systems, the networking, and it goes on and on. So some of our success points, we've had virtual works, we've had backpack visualization systems, we've had remote visualization systems, we've developed AI and ML background safety presentations, we have the ergonomic tracking with webcams and so on. And
Yeah, okay. Well said, but let's not deviate too much from on a tangent here. So refocusing back on displays. Nick, with all these advanced displays, what type of content is often shown? How and where does that content come from? And what tools might be necessary? You have any stories, insights on those questions?
Sure. So much of our content is actually engineering based. So it comes out of like PTC Creo, MATLAB, something like that. But we have all types of other use cases that come to us that are more artistic in nature as well, which doesn't happen all the time, as mentioned earlier, in our DoD kind of environments. But we have to answer those as well, right? So I'm constantly, as a content creator, asked to bring in 3D models, but also to do reality capture type events. So I'm doing terrestrial 3D laser scanning or near-range 3D laser scanning. I also do 2D video capture, 3D video capture, stereo video capture, 360 video capture, drone capture with 2D or 3D. So we have all these plethora of inputs that come in to our IDC, and some of the stuff that we've done with it, for example, is like the 360 videos. We've turned those into tours, and then what that does is it eliminates a lot of the risk factor to our factories when people are coming in and touring those factories. You have to shut down a lot of stuff, clean them up, make sure that there's not things that you can't see out in the audience, right? So we eliminate that by showing these virtual tours outside of the actual space. And we do that brilliantly in our Immersive Design Center in 13,000 pixels. It's amazing. So besides that, I can give you a story about point cloud generation. So I also do, as I said, terrestrial laser scanning. And we were doing a project, a greenfield project, and I was scanning during the construction process. What that allows for is to find things and note them when they're actually being built, not later when it's very late and it costs a lot more money to fix it when things are already installed. So we noticed that one of the hallways that were being built were not in spec. They were it was too steep of a pitch. And so I brought it to the facilities folks. They went and saw it. Yep, that's a problem. Fixed it. Went back and created a plan to fix it, then they fixed it. I was in construction again, scanning while it was being constructed. And then after it was complete, verified and validated that now it is within spec. So there's things that we can do to make sure that we're providing different types of content, not just the displays or whatever as well. But what else do we do? So one of the things that we like to say is that we need to take these contents, these forms that we're getting, and be able to put them in the right way, right? Out of a format into a common format to be able to display it correctly in our IDC space. We have to be masters of translation, right? We have all these different formats that we've got to put into it to be able to view it. And our answer is that still is the case, but that breaks the digital thread. So we would prefer to just use our current PTC Creo, to just an engineer logs in and uses it, and then it stays within the digital thread. So,
Absolutely, all true. The team's expertise in many subject areas, as well as the availability of the correct hardware and software, are all key components in successfully providing access to cutting-edge technology and providing the support services to make it work smoothly and efficiently. Speaking of other areas of expertise, what about telepresence? Brent, do you have any stories related to that?
It's funny how well you ask these questions. I do have a story about that. As we explained, we investigate a whole bunch of different forms of technology. Paper is one of them, in case you're watching what my hand's doing. It never goes out of style. But some of the tech we actually had to figure out was figuring out how to host remote meetings. So we have a room and we need people to actually not there to be able to attend the meetings. So this investigation included hosting remote meetings, as I said. Prior to COVID, most of us probably didn't know how to use Zoom. Now almost all of us do, I'd hope, and Teams didn't even exist. So the lesson of the next story is actually being prepared for the expected and the unexpected. And you don't want to forget about things that you've tried just because you didn't or weren't able to use them immediately. Being ahead of what's needed is actually a good thing. So in this particular case, so before COVID, as I said, we were hosting remote meetings, and one of the things we asked to investigate is how to assist remote SMEs, so SMEs on site assisting remote users. So there's a problem, over across the sea and wherever, Africa, Australia, wherever, and the SME has to actually somehow help the person out. So we had actually started development of a system that's actually called Virtual Works now. And that's a system where it has a camera, a computer, and a bunch of software that actually allows you to do all this stuff. But the key in that is that we developed it before COVID. When COVID hit, we had something ready to deploy at the time. Another thing, so we'd also investigated some other options. We also had a BVS system, a backpack visualization system, which was another computer system. It was designed to support stereographic display. And it was, again, a computer. We had a microprojector, and we had some software to allow the networking and the communication protocols to exist. And this also ended up being used during COVID. When we couldn't actually go anywhere, we could just ship them the BVS system, and we could actually communicate with each other. So this proved enormously effective. Now, again, the takeaway is that we'd done all of this ahead of time. We didn't have a necessary need at the time when we were doing it, but we'd actually committed the calories. We put out the effort to find out what could actually work within our system, Raytheon being a pretty controlled environment, so we had to figure out how it would work. And we'd already done this before we actually needed to. So staying prepared, staying ahead, that's the other message.
All right. So anticipating and being prepared for the expected and the unexpected is definitely a good idea. With that in mind, either of you, what's coming next? What should people be looking at?
I'm jumping in. I got this one. Sorry. Loud. Okay. So content creator, right? As I mentioned, so we have things that we need to do with content. We need to be able to put them into a common format such as USD. We've already talked about those. But for me, it's like E57 for laser scanning. Something that's common, everybody's using it. There's so many different formats out there, and it just makes it hard to bring it in, especially if you have digital twins and so on. If in that pipeline, you have to make this advancement happen. We also have to make those transformations occur if we have to do the transformations without sloppy losses, without losses, period, without messed up Z fighting that happens all the time, that kind of stuff. Our normals messing up, that kind of thing. We have to be able to predictively do this the right way. We know generative AI is coming, but we have to make sure that it's being done the right way, accurate, less hallucinations, so on. And for me, like I said, in the reality capture side, I need to have advancements in the geolocation of it, right? I need to have the form factors of the hardware to be smaller and more accurate and to increase the speed of collection. Photogrammetry, we're going to have a lot better cameras coming out with higher resolutions, and Gaussian splats are coming to be more of a reality, so we can make advancements in the Gaussian splatting side. Point cloud manipulation, transfers, all that kind of stuff has to happen, and more and more and more will continue to grow.
That it? I get to talk now? Okay. You sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So AI, ML, that's definitely coming for sure. Hopefully we'll actually, as the speaker in the previous talk mentioned, actually help with the file conversions. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see that product produced. But there's other things beyond AI and ML, and we're going to have a whole bunch of talks on them, I'm sure. So other things to consider might be the robotics aspects. So we have the human-robot interactions. I anticipate this is going to become significantly more advanced in the near future. We also have the remote viewing of the robotics. We also have the remote control of the robotics. And then we get into the data aspects, which relates directly back to the AI and ML. Without data, they can't do much of anything. So we're going to need to see a control and improvement of the data management. We're probably going to need a lot faster data transfer. We're fast now, but we're going to need even faster, particularly if you have 2 different sites with 2 different data centers. You want your AI to work, it has to be able to access the data quickly. You'll also we'll have to find better ways to actually categorize that data and clean it up and possibly even collect it. I think these are going to be major efforts for a lot of the companies. And if you don't start doing it now, you're going to be behind. Automation, this is going to go nuts all around in a lot of different ways. Some of it's likely going to work. A lot of it probably won't work. We'll see what actually happens. But whether it's on the AI ML side or whether it's in the XR, AR, VR environment or whether it's using the robotics, I think there's going to be a huge amount of effort that's going to take away the mundane or what we consider now mundane tasks from people, and it's going to actually allow us to explore new tasks, learn new things, and dedicate our time to hopefully more innovative solutions and better processes and more creative solutions. I really can't imagine where it's going to go. If I could, I'd be a billionaire. On top of this, we also have the space exploration. There's been a whole bunch of talk about that. I think that's headed for sure at us. And you have all of those aspects. You have the telecommunications aspects. You have the spaceships, the actual satellite systems, conceivably lunar bases or orbital bases, and all the other technology that has to deal with that. And I think that XR is going to end up, or VR is going to end up playing a lot of roles in that, as long as, because you can't go into space safely, so if you're going to train people, it's going to show up there. Now, how will all this happen? How do we actually get there? How do you stay current? I suppose that we do whatever we can whenever you can, so whether that's like taking interns, giving them projects, finding your Fridays off, or taking some time Fridays doing projects. You get internal, you get external funding wherever you can. Maybe it's just lunch and learns if you don't have that many options. Use whatever you can whenever you can is what I'm saying.
Well, that's a great topic as well. Let's focus on that aspect some. With regards to the future and what's coming, how do you stay current? How do you keep your finger on the pulse of technology, so to speak?
So I'll answer this one as well. I like this one. So the main takeaway for this is to stay connected in as many ways as possible. Read as much as you can, all over the place, as much as you can. Give demos of your products to everybody and anybody you can. And when you do those, ask for feedback and then apply what they say in the feedback, because those are going to be your end users, period, right? We also I'll say we have to attend conferences and to speak to as many people as possible. So if you don't know me yet, I'm the leaderboard #1 person right now. Social engagement and social interaction on that, and that's where this story is going to go, is that it is a social experiment that I've done, and it's worked out really well in my favor. I was able to attend another conference, another high-profile conference earlier this year, where they used to have that as part of their app, and they took it away. So it was 100% boots on the ground, walking around, talking to people I don't know, all the uncomfortability and putting yourself out there, and the extroverted nature of that. In this app that AES has, I'm able to be as introverted as possible and type as much as I need to and engage with as many people as I can, and just spread the word and talk and meet as many people as I can. And what it does is it draws people to me. They come and talk to me, ask me questions, and I didn't have to do all that extra work. So bravo AES for that, but the answer is we need to stay engaged as much as possible.
So yeah, I agree completely. I'm not going to compete with you. It's pointless. I'll never get as many points. What I would say, staying current, talking to people, experiment or play with as much new technology as you can. When you can, get your hands on it, whether it's at home or whether it's at work. It doesn't matter. If you really want to do it, go do it. Go to the schools, high schools, colleges, wherever. Find out what the young people or younger people are looking at, what they expect, how they're using it. You'll find that they've encountered, watching my sons grow up, it's been fascinating to see how they have actually used a lot of the technology in ways that I never thought you could. They're clever. Never underestimate the children. They have completely different views than we do. With that, watch a lot of movies, watch the sci-fi, read the sci-fi, watch fantasy, read fantasies, read all the technical journals also, but keep your creativity up with that. Pay attention to what people are saying around you, what works, what they complain about, what they don't complain about, what they like. One of the benefits of being in the IDC is that we get to see all of these, we get hundreds of meetings per year that we get to watch people present and try to talk to each other and communicate ideas. So watching them and seeing what works, what doesn't work for them gives us better ideas and better perspective on what they actually need to do. So getting back to the user experience, pay attention to your users, whoever they are, whoever you're trying to reach. This observational skill is often underestimated, and it is a skill that you have to work on. And in some, it's sometimes the very simple things are the things that actually matter the most.
Okay, so I think that is all the time that we have. So it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with all of you here today. If you have any additional questions, you can find us out in the lobby and just walking around the expo area. So thanks to all of you, and thanks to Jeff, Emily, and the whole AES crew.